Hi, I'm Juliet with Rural Valley Life. I'm here on the eastern slopes of the Cascade Mountain Range. In this video, I'll be sharing information about foraging wild foods in north central Washington. It's spring here in the Methow Valley. We're going to be looking at a few wildflowers and herbs that are able to be harvested now, as well as some blossoms that will bear fruit later in the season. Before heading out to forage, make sure that you're prepared for all types of weather. Bring sun and rain protection and plenty of food and water. Make sure that you have a map as well as GPS so that you don't get lost, and bring a good knife for sustainable harvesting. An important part of being prepared is wearing appropriate shoes. My go-to is Oboz Footwear. They have a variety of models designed for different activities that take you from urban exploration to the remote wilderness, all while supporting your feet with comfort and style. The most important rule of wild foraging is do not consume any forest foods unless you are certain of its species and variety. Test your sensitivities to new wild foods to be sure that you don't have any adverse reactions. Be sure to also bring a reliable plant identification guide with you into the field. My go-to is Pacific Northwest Foraging by Douglas Dior. Here we have a buffalo berry bush. The leaves typically sprout from the branches in pairs and have orange speckles on the underside. This plant will produce small, oval-shaped, translucent red berries that contain high levels of the natural chemical saponin. The indigenous peoples of Washington would use large quantities of berries and small bodies of water to stun fish, making them easier to catch. Saponin contributes to the bitterness of the berries and can cause stomach distress when eaten in large amounts, so eat them only in moderation. They are best when whipped with cold water and sugar to make a frothy dessert. Beside me here is the Saskatoon bush or Juneberry. They are prolific throughout north central Washington and are one of the first blossoms to come forth in the spring. They produce an abundance of berries that have a high sugar content with seeds that have an almond extract-like flavor. Oregon grape can be found all across Washington state from the Pacific coast to the eastern plains. Identifiable by its waxy leaves with serrated edges, it bears vines of yellow flowers in the spring and produces dark blue berries in the late summer and fall. The berries are tart and contain a handful of seeds and are best served as a jam. The skin of the berries contain enough natural pectin that no commercial pectin needs to be added. Wear gloves when harvesting to avoid staining your skin and to protect your hands against the prickly leaves. Yarrow is an herb that can be harvested in early spring. It's identifiable by its feather-like leaf structure. It'll produce an edible flower stalk that's either pink or white in midsummer. It's also considered a fire-wise plant for north central Washington. Here we have strawberries that grow along the forest floor throughout Washington state. They produce a tiny berry that's packed with flavor compared to their grocery store counterpart. Behind me here are elderflower, which can be harvested in spring and cooked down with sugar and water to create a simple syrup. The berries will be ripe in the fall and can be harvested to create an immunity boost tincture. Here we have a wax currant bush. It can be identified by its fan-shaped leaves with small trumpet flowers. The bright red berries usually form in clusters of 3 and have a savory flavor profile similar to a cherry tomato. Balsam root is a culturally significant plant to the indigenous peoples of this state. It can be harvested from its petals, leaves, down to its roots. The leaves taste bitter, but some people dehydrate them and turn them into a spice blend. Harvest sustainably and responsibly. Tread lightly on the plants beneath your feet and do not harvest all from one plant. Spread it throughout the area that you're in. Harvest invasive species where you can and be sure not to propagate them further. When foraging for roots and bulbs, note that you are destroying the plant entirely. Please do this sparingly. Also be aware of your impact on erosion while pulling roots from the earth. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more adventures with Rural Valley Life, partnered with Oboz Footwear. If you have any questions about foraging in North Central Washington, leave them in the comments below or reach out to us on Instagram at Rural Valley Life.